Good morning. Welcome to the Unity Center of West Lynn, Oregon. My name is Jan Carruthers, and I am your service leader today. So welcome to this beautiful spring day. It's a pleasure to bless and welcome each of you today and always. In Unity, we believe that each of us dwells in spirit, and each of us is here by divine appointment. Our Unity Center is a ministry where people of all ages, backgrounds, and beliefs celebrate the one common spiritual thread that lives in every heart. And if you're discovering us for the first time or returning after a while, we invite you to visit our website, www.worldhealing.org. And we will be so happy at this moment to welcome one of our very best friends and great guest speakers, Reverend Christine Green, and she will open us with centering prayer.
Thank you, Jan. Welcome, everyone. Thanks so much for being here today. I invite you to join me in prayer by taking first a deep cleansing breath and just surrendering and resting in that centered place of love. Take another breath, releasing any tension and being in this sacred moment of now. And so, what I know and recognize is that right where I am, there is only one presence, one power, one life, one creative presence. That is the source and the presence through everything that is seen and unseen. It is that creative process of life itself. It is that goodness that is God. And as that presence of God that is love expresses in and through and as me, I know that truth for everyone here and for everyone watching. And I know that we come together this day with open hearts and open minds, ready and willing to receive the divine love that Spirit has in store for us. How good it is to be in spiritual community, to be connected in the oneness. And so I know that we are lifted up, inspired, illumined in love. And I'm grateful knowing that this service flows with ease and grace, that everything that needs to be heard is heard, everything that needs to be realized is already realized in the heart. And so I release this word with deep gratitude and love and surrender this. And so it is. Amen.
Thank you. Our spiritual reading today is excerpted from Your God-Given Potential, and it's by Winifred Wilkinson Hausman. It's called Open the Power Channel. Each year, Unity has an overarching theme, and this year, the theme is how to stay centered no matter what. And each month has a sub-theme. In the month of May, the theme is power. Power is a gift of God, freely given. Truly, power is a gift of God, freely given, but it's a gift to be used under God-given direction only. Wrong use of the God-given power potential will bring disappointing or even disastrous results, but power rightly used under the direction of the Christ, the God self of each individual, will accomplish good beyond our present ability to imagine. Power, we must understand, is not an end in itself, not a goal to be sought. Rather, it is simply a means that enables us to attain the end result of bringing forth God ideas on earth. It is not to be used for selfish gain or satisfaction of the personal ego, but for the forward spiritual movement of the whole. It is to be exercised not for the purpose of controlling others, but for the purpose of taking dominion over our own thoughts and feelings in order to come into a greater God awareness. And over this month, we will continue to read from that section. We have an affirmation that we'll read together. If you will stay, leave yourself muted, but please join me in the next two affirmations. The presence and power of Spirit is now manifest in me and through me. I use my inner power for good in our world. And the power of my thoughts and words moves me ever closer to the truth of my being. We have a piece of music to introduce Reverend Christine's talk.
Wow, what a great song. Thanks. Thank you, Jan. Thank you, Sharon. Thanks. And thank you all for being here today. It's a joy to be with you on this beautiful Sunday morning. My talk title is The Effusion of Light. And I borrowed this title from a chapter in Eric Butterworth's book, In the Flow of Life, one of my favorite books. And what he says is that if there's one thing that we need more than anything else, it is light. Light in terms of insight into self, guidance along life's way, knowledge of the secrets of the universe, and the wisdom to use the light and not abuse it. And so, what Butterworth is talking about in this chapter is not an external light. I know I need external light, and I love this time of year where we have so much light, and light, it stays light until late at night after 8 o'clock, 8:30. It's still light. So there's external light, but what he's referring to here is internal light. It's that presence of spirit, of divine wisdom, of our internal guidance. And so as we practice this and pay attention to this internal guidance, we become more mindful. And when we do that, our energy changes. We're more aware of what's going on around us. We're more sensitive to energy. We notice more things. We're sensitive to sound and energy around us. At the same time, we're more open to feeling of connectedness. It appears as though a fog lifts us so we can see the truth. And when I was writing, I recalled the first time I visited Chicago, the city of Chicago. We arrived late at night and it was dark and couldn't see anything. But the next day we went out early to explore the city. And there was this dense fog that covered everything. You could only see a few feet in front of you. And so we went to one of their fabulous museums and spent the morning walking around the museum, and it was wonderful. When we walked out of the building, the fog had lifted, and we walked into the brilliant sunshine. And then we looked up, and when you're in Chicago, you know who the tourists are because everybody's looking up at these enormous skyscrapers, and they were there before, but we couldn't see them. And that's what it feels like. A spirit is always present in us, but we're not always aware. And when we're not aware, we can't see the possibilities. When we're connected with spirit, we move from the fogginess of our thinking to the clarity when we tap into the divine. This is a really important thing to pay attention to right now. As we are coming out of COVID, I hear from so many people that are suffering from forgetfulness and fogginess and lack of energy. And it's because we've been in this deep process and we're coming out. And as we're coming out, it's important for us to pay attention and to have intention to recognize our inner light. That's the true clarity. As we step out into more activity, as we step out into the world, know that natural energy will return, but it takes time to step out. And if you remember having the flu or being sick and it takes a while, you think you have all this energy and you're going to go do all these things, and then suddenly you're exhausted again. That's what it feels like. So it's important for us to pay attention to that while we're reconnecting with this divine presence, this divine light. And in the flow, Butterworth says, humankind has instinctively sensed a dimension of life in which what flows like an underground stream, this directive force that is forever correspondent with every conscious need. A directive force that is correspondent with every conscious need. So as we become connected with this invisible presence of spirit that is our divine flow, It's like an underground stream that it's always there. Maybe we forgot, maybe we weren't ready, but now we reconnect with it. And it's this force that is in alignment with all of our needs. Whatever we need, it's already provided for in the mind of God. Another one of my favorite authors is author and activist James O'Day. And in his book, The Soul Awakening Prayer, he talks about this light. And he says, the light shining in your heart's core is knowledge, insight, wisdom, and love as one unified presence. So if you imagine this light, this stream that's flowing to us as this light, it comes into us through the heart. And at the core of it is knowledge and insight and wisdom. It comes in and it flows through us. And that's that solid presence of oneness that is spirit. It's the truth of who we are. And when we are centered and present, we recognize this presence in a profound way. And things happen such as we think about someone and they call. Have you ever had that happen? You're thinking, oh, I need to get in touch with so-and-so, and then they call. Or you're working on a project and you need a piece of information, and suddenly someone comes up with it and shares it with you. And Butterworth shares this story about Mark Twain. That Mark Twain told of this story is that at one of his writings was really important to him, and he couldn't find it. He didn't have a copy of it. And so he wrote to the publishers, and they said, the demand for that particular issue was so great, we don't even have a file copy of it. And so he was so frustrated that the only copy available, the file copy, was not even there. So he had this determination that he was going to find it. And he began by asking his friends, and nobody had it. And so he said to himself, I know that there is a copy somewhere, and someone knows they have this copy. Someday, at some time, I will run into that person. So it was several weeks later. He was in New York City on business, and he was waiting at a traffic light at Fifth Avenue. And suddenly, this stranger, somebody he didn't know, one of thousands of people walking around, mind you, walks up to him and says, "Oh, Mr. Twain, this is so odd. I was just on my way to the post office. I wanted to mail you this old magazine. I was cleaning out my files and I came across it, and I found it contained an article you'd written. And it was published a long time ago, but it occurred to me that you might want this." And he handed the envelope to Mark Twain, and he disappeared. And when Mark Twain opened it, it was the exact copy of the article and the magazine that he had been searching for. That is being in the flow. That is being in the light. Now, some people might say, oh, that's a coincidence. Really, the odds of that happening would be astronomical. Of being in New York City with thousands of people, with someone recognizing him and walking up to him with exactly what he needed. But that's what we do. We dismiss that presence. And when we align with this flow, this is a natural part of our lives. But when we dismiss it, we diminish it because we haven't acknowledged it. We haven't felt that place of gratitude for it. But when we are in alignment with the flow, we are telling the universe, yes, Thank you for listening. I know I am in awareness. I know I am in connection. And I do this exact practice every time something like that happens. When I claim I I want this to happen. I want this person to call. I'd like to go here or to do this. And it happens. I just say thank you. Thank you, God. Thank you, Spirit. That's exactly what I needed. And so when we recognize it, we're acknowledging it. And then it can happen even more because we're in that awareness. Our inner guidance is not a special act of God or some kind of phenomenon dealing with an external force. Natural guidance is divine, and divine guidance is natural. Each of us is a being of light. And even if we're in the frustration of fear, we're always in that flow. But when we pray to God out there for light, we are not recognizing the light is in here. But when we listen within, when we're still and listen within, we get into the consciousness of the flow. Light is a present reality. We don't have to reach for it. And we can give up the desire to need to reach for it. And this affirmation that Butterworth uses over and over in the book is be still and know I am in the flow. Be still and know I am in the flow. You know, in our education system, our emphasis is placed on the acquisition of knowledge. And so the better the memory we have and the more exhaustive the notebooks and the files, the higher the grade seems to be. But what's happening is that educators are beginning to realize, just like the ancient Greeks did, that true education is a process of waking up to life, of waking up to the light and releasing this effusion of light around us. If we want to get the most from our human potential, we have to realize that all that we need is to allow this light to shine through us, that all that we need is already known in the mind of God. And as we allow this light to shine through us, we can use the scientific facts, the mathematical equations, we can use the resources that we have, and along with the light, we can have exactly what we need. Eric Butterworth says, what is called divine guidance is a flow of infinite mind. It is a universe in that it is a presence and a principle of mind, of action, and not dependent on a special appeal. It's a principle of mind action and not dependent on special appeal. Divine guidance is not prejudiced. It does not come with one fixed, unalterable step to be taken. But what it is, it's a divine wisdom inside of us. As he said, it's a stream, it's a light, it's a stream, it's a supportive flow that enables us to see the road ahead with clarity. And we use this wisdom to help us as we develop our spiritual awareness, as we deepen in our spiritual awareness. Divine guidance can never lead us to take a step beyond your ability. We will always be given what we need at the time. We're always given what we need at the time. Spirit meets us right where we are. And divine guidance is not an exterior force. It's the seed of the divinity, the Christ in each one of us, that Christ consciousness, that Christ presence. And that's, we are here. We are meant to be the fulfillment of that Christ energy. And so it's the pattern that's flowing through us that's meant and intentionally part of our lives. Eric Butterworth says, God could never want for you that which you did not inherently want for yourself. So that which we desire, the universe desires for us. The universe matches our desire. Now, oftentimes, when we do this inner work and getting to know this part of ourselves, you may have noticed that there's a voice, a critic, someone similar to a backseat driver that shows up that thinks it's protecting us. It thinks it's protecting us from past experiences. And so it shows up and says things like, really? Do you think you can do that? Have you ever done that before? Are you sure you know what you're doing? Anyone can relate to your passenger, your backseat driver, that critic? And when that happens, it fills us with doubt. I thought I was doing the right thing, but now I'm not sure. And then we have this cloud of confusion. But when we tap into the light, the connection with spirit is always shining. And when we're fragmented, we feel like we're not centered. It feels like the fog. It feels like doubt. Do you remember that Peanuts character in the Charlie Brown cartoon, Pigpen? And wherever Pigpen was, there was a cloud of dust following him wherever he went. He was just, this cloud followed him. Some days I feel like that. Anyone else ever feel like there's just this cloud following? That's such a great example of what happens when we're not connected, when we're surrounded in doubt, we're surrounded in the cloud, we're surrounded in the mental blocks and emotional conflict. And when we have doubt, we move into fear and we imagine the worst. And so I remembered when I purchased a new home, my husband and I purchased a new home, and it was a quiet Saturday, and it was our first couple days there, and the sun was shining, and I couldn't wait to get outside and garden. And I was feeling so peaceful and grateful. And all of a sudden, out of seemingly nowhere, this loud rap music started with words that were not very pleasant, let's just say. And I went to the front of the house, and there was a guy down the street fixing his car. And obviously you need loud music when you're fixing your car. So it came to be, I came to understand from living in that neighborhood. But it was angry music and not nice words. And my energy dropped and I went into buyer's remorse. Did anyone ever have buyer's remorse? Why did I buy this house? I should have done more research. I should have checked out all the neighbors. I should have checked out the neighborhood. And I was just in a tizzy, and I was pacing around, obsessing over the noise and the bad decision that I made. Finally, I had an awareness. I need to get centered. I need to get back to spirit. So I went to my office. I put in one of my chanting CDs, and I turned the volume up as loud as I could. I opened the window, played the music as loud as I could, and I calmed myself down. I just started breathing, and I calmed myself down. And I was so in the flow of that, I didn't even notice when the rap music stopped. Because what happened is I brought myself back into alignment. My doubt was gone, it lifted. My vibration lifted. I was back in inner balance. And I released thinking about what didn't work, what's not working, and went back into that centered place of spirit. Instead of believing I made a bad decision, I surrendered. I surrendered. And so if I had done that earlier, I would have saved a lot of stress, right? If I could have recognized it just a little while sooner, I could see it so differently that I would just say, oh, that's my neighbor working on the car. I'll just put my headphones on and listen to my CD. Instead, I made a decision about purchasing a house. I made a decision about the neighborhood. I made a decision, made all these decisions. My mind went wild like Pigpen, just swirling in that pattern. And so the quicker we can bring ourselves back to spirit, the calmer we can be, the more centered we could be. We can stay in the flow. A great tool that I use and share in my classes is that when you find that place of doubt, you clap your hands, doubt out, faith in its place. So you doubt out, faith in its place. Why don't you do that with me? Doubt out, faith in its place. And so that we see that when you clap your hands, there's something happens to shift that energy. And so clapping your hands, doubt out, faith in its place. Another one that I remembered is, and I'll put these in the chat after the service. So come and join us for the chat afterwards, and I'll put these in the chat. And another one that I learned from a different teacher is, shh, peace, be still, know my will. I am the mind divine. So when you find yourself in that chatter, just say to yourself, shh, peace, be still, know my will. I am the mind divine. I love that one. So our work is to determine how we are blocking the flow, to see that, and then open the window, step out of the shadows, and allow the light, the inner and the outer light, to shine in. You know, cartoonists depict a flash of understanding as a light bulb, right? That you see a light bulb over the head, because that's an inner recognizing of the light. But it's not, we see it not as a one-time light bulb, but as a divine flow of light moving in and through and as a guidance. It's not something out there, but it's always present. It's always here. And we just have to tap into it in the moment. When Jesus said, let your light shine, he meant let yourself be who you really are. Let God be God in you. When you are in the flow of life, you become transparent in the sense of the human that you are. The ego, the personality, the flesh and blood and body become an open channel. We become in that oneness for the light to flow as the reality of who you are. A couple took their young son to Europe with them, and they visited many cathedrals. And when they returned home, the little boy was in Sunday school, and the teacher asked, "What is a saint?" And the little boy remembered all the cathedrals and all the stained glass, and he said, "A saint is a man who the light shines through." A saint is a man who the light shines through. A saint is a being who the light shines through. How true is that? That a saint is a being, because a saint is someone who connected with that divine, knew that divine guidance in and through and as them. And you and I are that. You and I are that window through which God expresses and that light shines through us. When we get ourselves out of the way, there's a fusion of light flowing forth as wisdom, as guidance and creativity. So, how do we move from doubt to faith? We're always in the flow, but we don't have to wait to be guided. We are told, read this in scripture, to wait upon the Lord. But the word wait comes from the root word that means to bind together. What this kind of waiting implies plugging into our divine circuits. And it's not about a time, it's not about a length of time, but a depth of consciousness. Expect to be guided and then get into motion. Take a step, choose a course of action. Guidance is a process that works when you are in motion. And so there's 3 steps we can remember to stay in this place of guidance. First of all, to be in gratitude. How important it is with everything that is revealed for us is that we stay in gratitude. To train your mind. The second step is to train your mind. Ernest Holmes says a trained mind is infinitely more powerful than an untrained mind. The trained mind is when we train our mind to pay attention, to be in the flow, to send doubt out and faith in its place, to do the practices, to be aware. We train our mind. And the third is to embrace the presence of love. We live in an atmosphere and a presence and a life that is love. And when we embrace love, we embrace spirit. Spirit is love, and embracing love embraces spirit. And so when we remember our spiritual practice, staying in gratitude, training the mind, having the awareness of the mind, and living in love, embracing love, will keep us in the flow. And so I have this quote from Ernest Holmes: God in me knows what to do, how to do it, and when to do it. I am now one with God, and this full knowledge is now mine. I am free from all uncertainty, for God delivers every idea to me at the instant of the time that I need it. I let my inner spirit control my mind, discipline my emotions, and keep straight my affairs. Doubt is destroyed and truth is revealed. Let's take this into prayer. Oh, breathing in, just breathe in and receive all that has been given here this day. This divine light, divine guidance, divine wisdom that is the divine flow, that this internal, eternal stream of light, of goodness, of grace that flows in and through and as each of us. It flows through, coming through the crown chakra into the heart, and expands into every cell, fiber, tissue, gland, organ, nerve, and bone of our bodies. And we are that light. We surrender that light. We imbue and illuminate. We're illuminated by this light and send this light forth to all those wherever we are. And so it is that light that shines through us that is the answer to every need. It is the light in any time of darkness. It is peace in any time of confusion. It is freedom in any moment of pain. It is love in any time of fear. It is that light that flows in and through and as us this day And what I know for everyone on this call and everyone listening to this is that this light, what I know for all of humanity, is that this light is the light that moves through us. It illumines us, it lifts us, it blesses us this day and every day. So I know as we go out into the world, we take this light, this shining, illuminating essence of love, and shine it wherever we are, with whoever we are with. I'm so grateful for this time, for this blessed community, and for this opportunity to come together in spirit, in light, and in love. And so for all of this, I give grateful thanks. My heart is filled and overflowing with love. I'm so grateful. God is so gracious. I release this word with grateful thanks, and so it is. Amen. Blessings.
Hush, my child, I heard the voice say from the dark night of my soul, things are not as bad as they seem, and you are stronger than you know. You call on me to help you, but it's already done. Everything I am, you are. The battle has been won. You are not weak. You are not helpless. You are not fear. You are not judgment. You are whole. You are worthy. You are the way of God. The way of God. Deep in my own heart, I found strength and the courage to go on. When I faced my fears, I could see they were all just illusion. I wanna make the difference. I wanna be the way. Now when I want to turn and run, I hear myself say, you are not weak. You are not helpless. You are not fear. You are not judgment. You are whole. You are worthy. You are the way of God. Stretch your heart until it reaches the way of God. Every master teacher teaches the way of God. 'Cause the only way to peace is the way of God. So when the path before you seems too much to take, Just remember who you are. Take a breath and say, I am not weak. I am not weak. I am not helpless. I am not helpless. I am not fear. I am not fear. I am not judgment. I am not judgment. I am whole. I am whole. I am worthy. I am the way of God. I am the way of God. I am not weak. I am not helpless. I am not helpless. I am not fear. I am not fear. I am not judgment. I am not judgment. I am whole. I am whole. I am worthy. And I am worthy. I am the way of God. I am the way of God. You are the way of God. The way of God.
Thank you so much, Dean. That was just wonderful for your moving and enlightening message. And I love Be Still and Know I'm in the Flow. I think that's just great. And I can imagine that many of us are going to want to revisit this talk on YouTube. It's hearing you is just a pleasure. It's an inspiration. Thank you. This is the time in our service where we always recognize that what we receive, we also give. And this is our offering. We remind ourselves of our abundance and the messages that inspire and sustain us, the community in which we're loved and appreciated, and the unity principles that liberate us with truth. We use this time to give thanks. And I know because we're online, or you may want to give online, you can go to our newsletter or our website and donate. But it is also true that we have our 31st year, and we're making some decisions as we go forward, and we want to say together our intention. Say together, Spirit-led, we are co-creating a vibrant, inclusive ministry, welcoming and supporting everyone on their spiritual journey. This is an intention we have in mind and in spirit. So it's easy to give. Just go to the website, as I mentioned, or go to the newsletter. You can also, of course, send us a check. You can go on PayPal, and we give securely by credit or debit card. Give from your heart. And we are grateful for your many blessings. And I want especially to thank this small congregation for your incredible generosity over 31 years. Let's say together, holding our gift in spirit, God's love in me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I give, and all that I receive. We have a few announcements, and I always encourage you to go to our e-newsletter. It's filled with lots and lots of things to do and reminders. But there are a couple of things that are particularly important I want to bring to your attention this week. We have a very exciting Mother's Day Women's Circle. It's on May 11th at Marty Bankhead's home. Yes, I said that right. At Marty Bankhead's home in Lake Oswego. She's a lovely outdoor entertainment area. It's all going to be set up for socially distanced conversation and celebration, and a program honoring our mothers. You may already have received an invitation. If not, be sure and stay after the service today, and we'll make sure we get your information to send you that information. But for many of us, this will be a first opportunity to gather safely outside with masks, but please RSVP to Marty so she knows how many places to set up. There's an assignment and an opportunity. Each of us is going to write a page or less than a page about our mothers, and we're going to share those. So it could be a memory, something that made our mothers unique as they were, or some kind of history. And just keep your eyes open for your email from Olivia, and again, for Marty's address. So just take in mind, Marty's email is Marty, MARTY .b@comcast.net. And make sure that you're on her list. May 21st is Food from the Heart, and they're beginning to make commitments regarding this month's menu. If you are interested in a spirit group program, you can go on Unity Portland and join one that is being led by our Unity licensed practitioner, Sandra Combs. The book everyone is reading is Divine Audacity by Reverend Linda Martella Whitsett. It began last week, but you can still jump in. Go check on that. The next thing I want to remind you is whether you have attended the first part or not, May 8th, 11 a.m. is the second part of our church community retreat. We're making choices and decisions for the upcoming and the long-term future for the Unity Center. So this is important. If you're committed to the future of the Unity Center, please attend. All the information is in the newsletter, and you are welcome, again, whether you attended previously or not. Exciting speakers coming up. Next week is Mother's Day, May 9th, Reverend Victoria Etchemendy, our Minister Emeritus, our founder, is speaking. You want to be sure and be there. And on May 16th, our very own Billy Schultz, speaking on lessons from cows. And knowing Billy, we know it will be fun and creative. So we're really blessed. We've got great speakers. And the following week, Reverend Jody Stevenson from Colorado will be speaking. So please invite your friends, and you be sure and be here. Your presence is incredibly important to your friends in the Unity community. So please stay after, join us. There's always a surprise, gives you a chance to get connected with your Unity friends and make new friends. And more seriously, if you are looking for spiritual support at this time, and this is a time for many, many people making changes and having conditions and working our way through situations, please consider going to Silent Unity. Silent Unity was the creation of Myrtle and Charles Fillmore, 125 years of nonstop, 7-day-a-week, 24-hour affirmative prayer. Please take advantage of this great spiritual gift. And as we begin our closing activities, we invite you again to continue to reflect on Reverend Christine's message on the power of light, the flow of light infusing our lives. And remember all the spiritual power that you have. You have the power too, and you fill in the blanks. Just remember how powerful you are when you're facing situations. And so we have a special, about 5-minute prayer meditation, and it's filled with beautiful images, video, sound, music. So sit back, relax, let the images and the words and the music carry you deeper into consciousness, resting in your soul center.
Prayer is a way of recognizing and accepting our oneness with God, by which we are able to transform thoughts and rise above circumstances. We reach within to the light of divine life, love, wisdom, and understanding that we need in order to harmonize any discords and heal any concerns. We begin by quieting our minds.
Established in the center of my being, I am still and peaceful. With every breath, I drop deeper into the center of my being. I settle into the silent yet perceptible presence of God, my source. Waves of peace flow through my body and mind. I become still. In the silence of prayer, I am peaceful.
God is the wisdom that flows as intelligence throughout every cell in my body and every thought in my mind. Centered in divine wisdom, I breathe out thoughts such as I can't or I don't know. I realize I am capable of knowing all I need to know for the moments ahead. I am inspired to think and act in ways that support well-being flowing from prayer.
I tell the truth of divine life to my body and my circumstances. Moving my focus to the light of life within, I become aware of healing energy streaming throughout my body. I remind myself that divine life is irrepressible, eternal, and ever renewing. I say to my body and my circumstances, "You are full of life."
Focused on faith, I perceive the truth of divine abundance by which I prosper. God is my source of divine ideas, a continuous flow of possibilities. I perceive possibilities through my faculty of faith. I can see through challenging conditions to the truth of divine abundance, and I lift my thoughts to the height of abundance, where all things are possible.
In the light of spiritual understanding, I behold divinity within all beings. Illuminated by the light of spiritual realization, I radiate peace to bless every being in this world. I focus upon the truth that unites us all, the divine origin and essence we share. I say to all beings, "I see God in you."
As our prayer draws to a close, we give thanks to our unity of spirit and oneness with God. Knowing our increasing capacity to embody divine wisdom, life, faith, and understanding, we return to our activities uplifted and re-energized. We conclude by reciting the prayer for protection together. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is.
As we complete our service, we symbolically blow out our candles. And this is so appropriate because this message of light We know the light never goes out because we are the light. And in the video, you noticed that we said the prayer of protection, and we're going to say the prayer of transformation, similar, but notice the differences from where we are being protected by the divine. And now we are, in fact, being transformed by the divine. The light of God is in us. The love of God moves through us. The power of God transforms us. The presence of God is who we are. Wherever we go, God is, and all is well. Thank you so much for being with us. Please again stay after with us. Invite your friends near and far and we appreciate you for your love and your participation. We are here every Sunday. We're online on YouTube, and let us light our way with radiant love today and every day. Thank you.